Hello everyone and welcome back. In the first part of my Redis Server video, we created our main function, main file, we get the port and gave it a default and our option to get the port via terminal as an argument. Then we created our Redis Server class. We created 3 private variables, port, server socket, and running. And in the C++ file, we created the you get the basic variables, shutdown function, run function. In our constructor, we have port, server socket, and running, the ones from the private part of the class. And we made our run function get the socket and start listening on the port. Right now, I want to create something important. I will call it background persistence, which will dump the database every 300 seconds. So it means every 5 minutes we will save database. And for that, I will use threads. So it will be persistent. std thread. Let's first add that. Include that. And we will also use journal. Okay, so std thread persistent thread. Also, real Redis server uses something like that, so I'm just kind of implementing the idea. So in our persistence that we will say while true. We will have this that will sleep for seconds 300. So it will check every 300 seconds, every 5 minutes, hey, what's going on? And I need to save the database, so we need to dump it. So if not, that is, we will have database, not yet, but we will have it soon. If not, the database. Actually, yes, we need to create database plus and get the functions work, then we need to implement this. So actually for now, I will just say dump. I use so much Python lately. We will say dump the database. It can stay like this for now. And we will detach the persistence. So we will come back here when we have the database class, and now we already have run class in our Redis server. I will say server dot done. Okay, so main is halfway done. We will check for the database, save it every 5 minutes, or get it. And we are we already said run the server, which is good. To continue, so basically what I planned, I will have 3 classes, I guess. First, Redis Server class for running and shutting off. We will have Redis database class, which will be doing almost every operation. Like it will have like the methods, setting, getting, and this will be the part for that where we are doing most of the implementations. Actually, I even created the use cases diagram. So I will say use cases.md to show. I already created this before, so we will have some comments like ping, echo, flash all for ping and echo is for checking if the server is open. We have key value operations, set, get, keys, type, and stuff. We have list operations. We have hash operations, and we will need to implement all of these in our database class. That's what I'm planning. It will take some time, and I don't think I can even explain all of them well, so good luck understanding what I'm trying to say. And then we will have Redis command handler class. I didn't make a video, but a couple weeks ago I made an FTP server with server and client, and actually I'm just using the idea from there because in that class I created a lot when I was doing the FTP server, so I'm just putting some extra effort and turning it to a Redis server. And I think we can start on the command handler because, as you know, in our C++ in run, we came to the point where we are listening on server. After this, I will call my command handler and accept the client's accept from the client from the socket, and we will call command handler so we can handle the commands that coming from the client. So I will say cd include patch Redis command handler .h cd back cd source touch this command handler .cpp. Go back. So let's code our this command handler. Each our command handler will if and this command handler header, we will define the same like this command handler h. If we will have link included, we will, let's say, class this command handler. So my public part will be the command handler, initiate the class, and we will need a process command from a client and return Redis protocol formatted response. And for that, we will say status string processCommand. We will give it a string address and command line we will get. So this will be our RedisCommandHandler class, basically. To go on the C++ file, let's first include the, where is it, in the include folder, RedisCommandHandler, yes. And basically we will use Redis protocol parser. I will explain this in a moment in the Redis's website because I think it will be easier. But what we will do in this class is we will parse the response, parse the Redis protocol commands. We will have our command handler. This class, we will initialize it, and we will need to process the commands depending of what we get from the client. We will need to process them in the server here, and then we will need to check for the common commands, key value operation command, list operations, and hash operations, which will all happen in the, which will be checked in the command handler, and then we will execute them in the database. But still, we will need to handle them correctly. And let me show how it works on the Redis. All right, so if you go to Redis website, you can see how the commands are, what commands are doing, and you can see detailed explanations in the documentations. I already made a list of how they're supposed to work and use cases, so I'm just gonna skip. If you are curious, just go check it. And in the serialization protocol specifications, if you've seen the client video, we are using Redis protocol 2 for my client, but this time it will be a little bit more, maybe. And we will need to check a lot. I mean, this is my baseline, but if I go to my command handler, I will, let's say how we will parse incoming commands using the Redis protocol in like Redis serialization protocol. If we have a command that starts with the star or asterisk, it will mean it is an array, a list of strings. So if I have 2 R N $4 N R N comment pink N $4 R N test R N. This will mean asterisk 2 means array has 2 elements. $4 means next string has 4 characters. So then first we read the ping, and then we read the test. When we look at this, we say asterisk and 2, which has 2 elements, ping and test. And we have $sign for means we have 4 characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So after parsing this, we will have ping and test. So this is kind of, this makes us easy to process commands because everything is splitting nicely into tokens and arguments. And later we will use these tokens and decide which command to execute and what response to send back. And if we start saying like implementing the function, I will say std vector, std string, parse RESP and we will have constant string and we will have an input and we will have tokens for this. So if I say std vector, std string tokens, that's a couple of libraries. So I will say include, for example, vector. If the input 0 is not star, we will first let's make the error check. First I will check if the input is empty. If the input is empty, we will just return tokens. And let's say, let's check if it doesn't, if it starts with asterisk. If it doesn't start with asterisk, we will fall back and fall back to splitting by white spaces, which is also important. So first we check for if it doesn't start with asterisk, the input index 0 is not asterisk, it will mean is stream yes as input. It include name. Yes, which will help us MS streams. We will give the input, we will add string tokens, token, and while our string to tokens, yes, we will say tokens dot push back, and we will give token, and of course then we will return tokens. So this first part we are checking if it doesn't start with asterisk. In that case we are just getting the white space. We don't even need this, it's on a single line. Keep it even shorter. And if not, in that case, if you are starting by the asterisk, then we will need to parse them accordingly. So I will say size t position of 0, and we will say expect the asterisk followed by number elements, and we will check if input position not equal to star, we will return tokens. And we will say position plus plus. We'll say skip the asterisks. And now we will check again for carriage return and new line, return on new line, and I will just say CRLF for carriage return and line feed, which will be input that we can say find as arguments, return new line position, and we will say if carriage return and line fit. I should before the RLF stands for carriage return and line fit line. It's just how Redis protocol used to mark the end of the line. So we are returning and getting an end line, new line. And if CRLF is std string and position, we will return tokens. If we cannot find them, we will just return the tokens and num elements equals std story and we will check input dot substring position def finds position. This will we will check in the input the substring that is from the position to length of the return and new line. And of course, the position will need to increment by 2 because we have 2 variables that we know it's existing, 2 characters they exist, and just skip them. And for int I equals 0, I is less than number of elements, and I plus plus, we will check for formatting to see if there's any format that is not supposed to be there, because we are expecting a $sign after asterisk string number return new line. We are looking for a $sign, so it will specify the length of the string. We say if position larger or equals to input dot size. In that case, we will input position not equals to $sign which will mean just break it because we are not supposed to be here. It will be a format error. And if what we need, if we are in the still existing characters in the size of the input and new line is the $, we will say position ++, basically skip the $, just like we did for others. And then we can say crlf equals input.find rn position again, because we have 1 before the string and before the asterisk and 1 after the size of the string we have. That case, again, we will have another checkpoint if everything is expected. fcd string and pause. If that's the case, we will just break. This string is working. If we fail, we will just return. Int len will be the specific part of the index input we are looking for. So I will say substring position between lf minus position. So we will know where is the asterisk, where is the elements, string size. So basically we will be checking for all of them in this for loop and find them. And basically we will say again position lf +2, because now we have 2 more characters we need to skip. And this time we will check again if we are still inside of our input, if position plus length is more than the input size. That would mean we are out of input, so we will say just break. This is where it ends. And if everything looks fine, these will be our tokens. String token will be input.substring position and length. And I will say tokens.pushback, and we will give it a token, the one we are working on. And again, we will say position plus equals len +2, because now we will, this will mean we will go to the position where the length of the token we got +2, because skip token and crlf. And if all goes fine, we will return the tokens at the end of this function. So in the idea, this should parse our comments as intended. It's been some time, so I will not be able to test this in this video, but I did test this before and I know it was working. So of course you will need to test it again, but if you are trying to do it yourself, always try to always test whenever you make a new function or it will be so much to debug later on. And we can also quickly create our initializer with this command handler, which will not have anything. So that's all. And so in the main, we created our server class and called run in the server. And in the server C++, we are after we start to listening, we will call the command handler that we already started and checking for the input, parsing the input, not checking yet. And we will need to process it. We can create the header at least. I don't like it staying missing here. So let's say std string RedisCommandHandler plus processCommand, which will have constant string address, and we will give it command line and use once Redis protocol parser. We already created, so I will see auto because I'm lazy. Tokens equals parse respond command and command line. And we will give our command line that we will receive from the Redis server and parse it here and return std vector std string, a vector of strings. I created auto, but you can also just type whatever it is. And let's make a simple checker. Tokens are empty. Then we will return an error message saying error empty command and Redis style ending. And here we will basically check for what the client sent us, parse them, and if it's like ping, we will need to give the response saying pong. And at the end of this, basically we will just return response, but I think I will keep that for the next video. At least we can say what we'll be returning. So let me do it quickly. String command is tokens index of 0. We will transform command to beginning command ending and again. Much. That's the one matter. And that and say to her. So we will transform our comment. What was it from? I think this is from algorithm, yes. Include algorithm. We also have string. Yes. Okay, we will translate them to uppercases, so we will know they are uppercase. It will be helpful in the future when we are implementing the comments. And we will say os string stream. We will have our response. We will return that response when everything is over. And we will create everything else is here. We will connect to database where these data will be handled and check comments. We already tokenized them, so we will just be checking it. And I guess this is a good point to stop this video because it's getting confusing and complicated. I made a mistake. What's the problem? Oh, it's turns, but str. Okay, because it's a string type, we will return it also as string. And in the server C++, we will call it, and I will continue this on the next video. As you see, this video we created a command handler and basically showed how we will parse the Redis protocol commands and how we will be implementing them. I will be handle them, and see you next video. I will do more.